Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you to our witnesses for being here today. I'm glad we've convened this important hearing to discuss the U.S. leadership and the FDA's role in drug development. I am very proud to represent California's 15th Congressional District, otherwise known as the birthplace of biotechnology. Life-saving therapies and cures are researched and developed every day in my hometown of South San Francisco, pushing the boundaries of what we thought was scientifically possible and expanding our ability to keep our loved ones healthy. Before discussing ways the FDA can advance drug development and the review process, we must first address the unforced errors coming from this administration that is ultimately slowing down drug development and potentially preventing the next groundbreaking therapy from making it to patients. Attacks on the NIH, research cuts, and recent OMB efforts to politicize independent scientific research are all pushing innovators to study and work abroad. We're going to lose a generation of the leading scientific minds, and President Trump and the majority continue to undermine American innovation. On top of that, preventable upheaval at the FDA is hurting domestic drug development. I recently sent a letter to the FDA outlining how the agency's staffing cuts, leadership turnover, and inconsistent priorities is adding uncertainty to the system and making it increasingly difficult for manufacturers to work with the FDA. And those ultimately hurt by the FDA's delayed communications and changing guidance will be patients who must go even longer without the therapy that could change their life for the better. So Dr. Kowalski, thank you for being here. From the patient advocate perspective, could you please outline what the impacts would be if the next therapy or cure in development for type 1 diabetes, for example, was delayed due to preventable factors?
I think the answer is quite obvious. It would be devastating. Our patient community, we've seen amazing advancements in my lifetime. My brother started on urine glucose testing, and here we are now wearing automated insulin delivery systems thanks to NIH support, partnership with FDA, partnership with companies, and now here we are on the cusp of curing the disease and preventing the disease, and to lose that would just be absolutely devastating.
Thank you for that. We cannot lose the momentum in so many ways. And in addition to pushing back on ways this administration has slowed U.S. drug development, we must also be forward-thinking about ways for the FDA to modernize processes as the science continues to advance. So, Ms. Winkler, your testimony highlighted that current FDA communication with drug sponsors leads to guesswork and overly conservative assumptions that ultimately slows down the process. So what more does the FDA and Congress need to do to streamline these interactions and ensure responses are clear and prompt?
Mm-hmm. Part of it is simply having the opportunity for more interaction, particularly early stage, smaller companies to be able to have that conversation. And then that there are risk proportionate requirements. So what is the risk of the IND, and are you having phase appropriate requirements for that? And then it is the clarity and speed of communication is essential. And then we have to tackle the other part too, where sometimes sponsors assume because someone else has done something, they must do it as well. So the data packages get bigger and bigger because they saw someone else do it. We have to clarify that, in fact, that's not the approach that may be needed.
Thank you for that. So let me just, pardon me, conclude by saying it's vital that we meet the scientific and medical needs today by continuing to modernize and streamline FDA's drug review process. I look forward to continuing this work to get therapies to patients faster. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing me to wave on with.
Mr. Mullin begins by putting the discussion in the context of California's biotechnology industry, particularly South San Francisco, which has become one of the most important biotechnology hubs in the country. That matters because drug development does not happen overnight. A potential treatment can take years of scientific research, clinical testing, regulatory review, manufacturing, and ultimately approval before a patient can receive it. Every part of that chain has to work.